JewishHistory.org presents Rabbi Berel Wein's 5,000 Years of Jewish History. One video clip at a time. Clip number 72. World War I begins.
In 1906, there was a tremendous pogrom in Kishinev. What was a tremendous pogrom in those times? 42 Jews were killed. Today, 42 Jews don't mean that much. But then it shook the world. President Theodore Roosevelt took back his ambassador, sent a very strong diplomatic criticism to the Tsar. But the Tsar continued in his anti-Semitism. In 1912, there was a blood libel. A poor Jew by the name of Mendel Bayless was put on trial for using the blood of a Christian boy to bake matzahs, a preposterous libel that has somehow weathered all of the centuries. So even though Bayless later was found innocent because of the fact that such a thing never could happen, but the effects were such that the Jews in the Tsarist countries were shaken to the core. In the midst of all of this, in the bigger world, so to speak, you have Germany, who under Kaiser Wilhelm II wants to become the major power in Europe. Britain always moved not to allow that to happen. And the English Navy was the main weapon of Britain's foreign policy. So the Germans decided that they would build a navy that would outmatch the British Navy. The British Lord of the Admiralty, Jackie Fisher, had the brilliant idea that he was going to build the biggest battleship in the world. It was impregnable. It was called the Dreadnought. The Dreadnought was not only the name of a ship, it became the name of a class of ships. The only thing that he didn't figure is that the moment there was the Dreadnought, all the other ships were obsolete. The British Navy, all of its ships were no good anymore. And the Germans also built Dreadnoughts. And you had this constant juggling in Europe. In 1912, there were Balkan Wars. The Balkans always are a place of instability, many different ethnic groups who don't like each other, to put it mildly. The Austro-Hungarian Empire couldn't keep the lid on the Balkans. The Ottoman Empire was the sick man of Europe. It was corrupt to the core. The Russian Empire is, as I mentioned before, under the autocratic Tsar. France wants to take revenge on Germany for what happened in the War of 1870. Any little match will ignite the explosion. And the match came in July 1914, when the Archduke Ferdinand of Austria was assassinated by a Serbian nationalist in Sarajevo. Austria issued an ultimatum to Serbia, an ultimatum that no country could accept, even though there were 13 points in it, and Serbia did accept 12 of them. And Austria was backed by Germany, foolishly. And Russia backed Serbia, because Russia always sees itself as the protector of the southern Slavs. France had an alliance with Russia, and Britain had an alliance with France. And boom, all of Europe went up in smoke. The famous statement of the British Foreign Minister, Edward Grey, he said, "The lights in Europe are going out. Who knows if we will ever see them lit again in our time." The truth of the matter is, from 1914 to 1945, for 31 years, Europe is destabilized, destroyed. Tens and tens of millions of people will be killed. Germany opens the war by invading Belgium and France. It intended to win the war in 6 weeks. It almost did. Almost. But almost doesn't count. And then the war settled down to 4 bloody years of trench warfare that consumed 20 million people, and a horrendous, horrendous destruction of humanity from which the world still has not yet quite recovered. If you visit France and Belgium today and see the cemeteries. There's still the marks of the battlefield. 100 years later, you can still see the battlefields. The cemeteries are full, unbelievable. On top of it, Germany is now fighting a two-front war. They have to fight Russia on the east, and they have to fight France and Britain on the west. It was the horror dream of the German General Staff. They thought they could beat France in 6 weeks and then take on Russia. Now they had to take them both on. It was a tremendous miscalculation on the part of everyone, every participant in the war. When the war began, the United States was neutral. Not only neutral, it was to a certain extent even pro-German because of the large German population in the United States. The Zionist movement was neutral because it didn't know who was going to win, and it wanted to be on the right side. But as far as the Jewish population in Eastern Europe was concerned, it was a destruction. If it would not have been for the Holocaust, we would have to commemorate the First World War. 250,000 Jews were killed, civilian Jews. Hundreds of thousands were sent into exile. The Tsar cleared the Jews out of all of Western Russia. He said they're spies, they're not loyal. The whole Jewish infrastructure was broken. It really is the beginning of the end of Eastern European Jewry, something that Germany would unfortunately finish a few decades later. My name is Beryl Wine, and I thank you for watching.
For more on Jewish history, go to jewishhistory.org.